Hi there. I'm Leoya Lewis, and welcome to another edition of New Day, New Beginnings. Now, my title for today's lesson is Tired, Weak, or Weary. How are you feeling today? Well, I'm feeling pretty good. And I chose that title on purpose because I'm sure that all of us fall in one of those categories at one time or another, and probably more times than we care to admit, because it's almost like every day we're saying, now, how many times have you said, oh, I'm so tired of this, and I'm so tired of that, and I'm so tired of picking up behind these kids? We use the word tired a lot. Every day we're using the word tired because something's always getting under our skin or not going the way we want. And it's like, oh, here we go again. I'm so tired of this. But we use tired way more than we use weak or weary. So, before we go any further, let's just kind of define each word, and then we'll get a better picture as to why we use tired all the time. Tired means, and I looked them up for a dictionary explanation. And tired means drained of strength and energy, and you're just run down, and you're tired to a point where you just feel exhausted. And it says stress. Stress tires us, and we know that because when we're stressed out about something, it's constantly on our mind. That's mental fatigue. So yeah, stress. I mean, we're just unable to go on sometimes. Now that's tired. Now weak means, and we don't mean physically. We know what physical weakness is. You just don't have the strength to do it. But weak, a lot of times in other contexts, means you're easily upset or you give in easily. And a lot of people aren't able to resist pressure or force. And that's how so many people get talked into doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Even when they know they shouldn't be doing it, they're still doing it because somebody's pressuring them and talking them into it. They're just not able to withstand persuasion or temptation. And that's how so many people go wrong because they get tempted by people always telling you, you see it all the time. They've always got a fast way to make money, and they're scheming and they're conniving, and they make it sound so easy. And people that cannot stand pressure or persuasion, they'll fall into their lap. And that's who they prey on because they can't make a firm decision to not do it. That's the type of weakness we're talking about. And well, weary is like you are just beyond tired, not weak, but just beyond tired. Because weary means exhausted in strength and endurance, vigor, and freshness. So you don't have strength to go on. You don't have the endurance to keep trying. No vigor, no vim, no get up and go, and no freshness. You can't regroup yourself. You don't have freshness enough to get yourself to the coming back to where you were. You're just wiped out, so to speak. And so many things in our everyday life could put us in any one of these categories. And it could happen at any time. Now, sometimes you wonder why people do the things they do, or how did they get to that point? Even people, street people, you might wonder, wow, why are they sleeping on the street? And that's the first thing that comes to your mind. Why? What put them to this level? What put them into that position? And then sometimes you wonder why people go off and leave their kids, let's say. And a lot of times you'll see people left their kids with somebody else, and Maybe they'll say they'll be back and maybe they won't. But the point is, they're gone. And you figure, why? Why would you leave your kids? But a lot of people might consider them weak. And they might say, well, they're weak because they didn't stay to stick it out. Or you don't know that. You don't know what they've already done. You're only seeing one side of them, and you're seeing them at their lowest point. Now, maybe they knew, maybe they've tried for months to take care of their children, for years, maybe. Maybe they couldn't take care of them because they didn't have the resources they needed. They needed a roof over their head. They didn't have food enough on the table, and they had no steady income. Well, all these things are necessary to raise children, and they knew that. And maybe they even thought that, well, at least this way, they won't end up on the street like I am. And they weren't weak, they were simply weary. And to them, that was their only alternative. They were just simply weary. And then I think about people, what about those who are abused as young children or young adults? They were abused physically, mentally, emotionally. We don't know. But these are the people that grow up to be angry. These are the people that grow up to be bitter towards anybody and everybody. They've been tormented, they've been beaten, maybe, they've been degraded, called useless. They've been having such a horrible life for so long, they actually believe it. They believe I'm no good, I'm useless, and they're angry at a young age. And that anger just grows as they grow. They're past tired. They again are just plain weary. Now, Job 10, verse 1 says, my soul is weary of my life. That means I'm just tired all the way around. That's weary. And that made me think of the number of the mass shootings that we're having nowadays. We have 2 or 3 of them a week. I mean, the more, the more and more of the shooters have a history of some type of mental or emotional illness. Now, the guy just this weekend, he last week went on a rampage at the Army fort in Georgia. He was mad because, I guess he was mad because it had something to do with their superiors. He didn't shoot the soldiers like his comrades, but he shot at the commanding officers. Now maybe he thought he should have been an officer. You don't know what they're thinking, but he had a history, previous mental illness. So you never know what's triggering these people. And the ones that just go about in the Walmarts, the supermarkets, and just start shooting people because they're angry. The one guy went to the sea at the university near that Emory University. He was supposed to be going, I think it was the building next to it or something, looking for the CDC because he was mad at them because he got COVID. And I guess he was blaming them. Maybe he felt they didn't find it out soon enough. I don't know. But what brings these people to this point? And I just wonder what went on in their previous life. But he too had a history of mental illness. Okay, let's talk about us. Now, Have you ever gotten to the point where you were so tired that every little thing just got on your nerve? I have, guilty as charged. I mean, every little thing just set you off. Now you're just fighting about things that don't even matter. And that's what distracts you from the things that do. You're so busy fussing and arguing over stuff that means absolutely nothing. It's like, why do you care? Sometimes you even start fighting with the people that are trying to help you. And they're probably looking at the other person and saying, I wonder what's wrong with them. What is? Because you have to find out what's triggering them. And if you gotten to that point, you too are past tired. You're just plain weary. Now it's time for you to go somewhere and sit down and have a conversation with God. Because now you need to ask for, Lord, give me control over my words, my mouth, my attitude. You just need a break. You need some rest. And I tell you, it happens to me when stuff is getting under my skin. But I tell you, even if you're at work, go to the bathroom. Just go to the bathroom. They can't stop you from going to the bathroom. You've got to have quiet time now. That's your sign. When you're going off about stuff, and it's like, I don't even know why I was caring about that. After a while, you realize that. And even if you're at home, if the kids are there, go upstairs to the bathroom. Close the door. All you need is quiet for a little while to regroup. You're weary and you need to regroup, period. Now, let's look at, I want to read Matthew chapter 11 and just a couple of verses, 28 and 29, because these are relevant verses. And 28 says, "Come unto me, all ye that are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your soul." That's Jesus speaking. That's him speaking. Come unto me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And you know what? I use these verses a lot because so many times I just feel how do I say overwhelmed. I just feel overwhelmed sometimes, and that does calm you down. Now, even if you can't go read it like I just did, just remember it in your, come unto me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. Just that part of it. You don't have to remember the whole verse, just that one piece. Because even even Jesus got weary. Well, he got weary because he was betrayed by two of his own disciples, Judas Iscariot for 30 pieces of silver, and Peter because he denied even knowing him on three separate occasions. And Jesus went to pray because he knew Judas was going to betray him. And he went to the Garden of Gethsemane. Now let's look at Luke chapter 22. And we're going to go to verse 42 through 44. Let's look at that. And that says, he's praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. This is Jesus praying because he knows that Judas Iscariot has betrayed him. And he's praying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. But nevertheless, That means even if you're not my will, but thine be done. And at that time, an angel appeared unto him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in an agony, he prayed more earnestly, more desperately. And his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. He was totally wiped out because of the betrayal of his disciple. And when he rose up from his prayer, there came Judas Iscariot bringing the soldiers to take him away. Why? Because Judas wanted those 30 pieces of silver. Betrayal comes easy to some people. Now, he was easily dissuaded. He was a disciple. You let somebody talk you out of being loyal to a man who's given you everything you need. Well, what situation, think about yourself now, what situation have you faced or you're even facing now that is a challenge to you? Now, I know we all have faith. I understand that. But sometimes the situation just seems to, it just seems to challenge your faith. And we know what faith is, right? Faith is what? Trust, belief, strong conviction. When you believe in something, you're not dissuaded. I don't care what's being said. I don't care what's being done. You're just not dissuaded. And it's a loyalty that we have to God. And why? Because we know God is the only one who can give us everything we need when we need it. We know that. That goes without saying. Nobody else can give us anything that we need ever. And he tells us that in his promises. And through his word, he assures us of everything we need. He assures us of what? Strength, wisdom, understanding, peace, protection, guidance, and the list goes on and on. But the one thing that you have to always carry in your heart is his promise to never leave you or forsake you. And he made that same promise to Abraham thousands of years ago. Let's look at Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 8 says, by faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he would later receive as an inheritance, he obeyed. He didn't question it. He just did it. Why? Because God told him to. And that's what we have to learn to do. We have to learn to follow and obey what we're told to do or what we feel God's put on our heart. You can't just dismiss things because you don't see anything happening. Abraham went out to a place he never even knew or heard of. But he obeyed God's word. And he went out not knowing where he went. He just did. That's true faith. That's true believing. He was believing in what he had not yet seen. And that's what faith is. And that's what believing in God will give you. Just follow his word. Follow his lead. I'll use myself for an example. Here we go. I'll use myself for an example here. Now, what I do, I come here every Saturday with a new story, and this is what I feel like I should be doing. And I'll tell you my lesson and tell you my stories, and I'm doing it by faith because I don't even know, I don't know what's the results are going to be. Not at this moment. I'm just doing it because I feel that this is what I need to be doing. All I can do is, trust that my words will give help or encouragement, guidance to somebody who's listening. Maybe they can relate to what I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to do is help somebody else. But I can only trust that my words will help somebody else. But you know what? If I only help one person a week, then I will feel that I've not been doing this in vain. I mean, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. What matters to me is how many remember what I said. That's the important thing to me. How many remember what I've said? How many will say, I never thought of it that way, or I'll keep that thought in mind? That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to know. And sometimes um, we may be doing something now, like today. I'm doing this today, but maybe God's going to use it later. Maybe somebody will hear this next week. Maybe it'll be used in my children's lifetime or their children's lifetime. Maybe they'll have these videos and they'll show them to their kids, and my words will come to life again. So often we look for things to happen like right now. Oh, I want to see something. I want to see how it's going. And it doesn't work that way because we feel we put so much into it. And I understand that. But maybe we're just not as ready as we think. God knows when we're ready. I mean, I put a lot in my lessons every week, and I still don't know what the outcome's going to be. I've been doing this for a little over a year now, but I truly believe that this is what I'm supposed to do. And God will just take it where it's supposed to go. So, let me go over here right fast I wanted to read this to you as well. Isaiah chapter 40, um, I'm going to start in verse 28. I'm only going to read like 3 verses, but this is really relevant because it says, Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, he doesn't faint, he fainteth not, neither is he weary. There is no searching of his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might, he gives increasing strength. Even the youth sometimes faint and are weary, and the young men shall fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as angels, as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. And I believe that because as long as we're just knowing that we can get our power and our strength from God, that keeps me going. That gives me what I need. And I find that a lot of people tend to be even envious or jealous or even sometimes resentful of other people on their own level who have all of a sudden made successes right away. Now, they may think that I could have done that. I do it just as good as they. Maybe you do. Maybe it's not your time, and maybe that's not what God has in store for you. You ever hear that expression, overnight sensation? Well, you hear that a lot with singers and entertainers because they could bring a song to the YouTube or on the radio or wherever, but and it might take off just like that. Maybe they just got to get it in the right place. But see, you only see the finished product. The question is, you don't know. I wonder what they had to do or go through to get to where they are. And what kind of shape are they in now, mentally or emotionally? So many times we hear about entertainers, singers, anybody in the limelight. They end up on drugs and they take a drug to keep them up so they can continue doing what they're doing. Then they got to take something to help them sleep because they can't sleep. So you don't know, are they, what kind of lifestyle they're really living beyond that stage. I wonder if they're at peace with themselves. Are you at peace with yourself? I am. Yeah, I am. I'm satisfied. I don't require much. I mean, I have a roof over my head, I have food on my table. And speaking of food on the table, they had it on the news how now that things are getting so out of whack. I mean, prices are getting sky high. Now they're talking about tariffs. That's another 10 or 12%, which I saw in my electric bill. Um, it had doubled from last month. But the point is, yeah, people are now to the point they had them on the news. They're using the credit card just to buy food and everyday necessities because things are so high. They don't have enough physical money. Now they're putting it on their credit card. Well, they'll never get rid of the credit card if you've got to use it for daily expenses, but they do. So, yes, I'm satisfied right where I am. I have no complaints. Sure, there's other things I'd like to do or other things I like to have, but I can afford and do the necessities. And that's what we all need right now. So, yes, I am at peace with myself. Yes, I'm content right here where I am. And if you are, the people you're putting on this platform, they may be trying to get the peace that we already have. So don't begrudge them and be envious. Only God knows what's next in our lives because He has a plan for each and every one of us. And all we have to do is trust and believe in Him. And the more we read His Word, the more you'll get to know Him. And I got what I want, one more, Galatians chapter 6. Chapter 6, verse 3 through 9. And it says, for if a man think himself to be something when he is not, he deceives himself. So many times people think they're more than they are. Delusions of grandeur, maybe. But let every man prove his own work. Then shall he be rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. So you do the work and then say what you're capable of. For every man shall bear his own burden. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. So if you're doing stuff out of the will of God, that leads you to nothing but corruption. But he that soweth in the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And the last verse says, so let us not be weary in well doing, For in due season we shall reap if we faint not. So as you do what's right, you will reap in God's timing. Never think you're weak. Maybe you'll go beyond tired. You're closing in on weary. And when you do, remember Jesus said, "Come unto me, all that are weary, and I will give you rest." Many times those words have given me a good night's sleep. And my closing words for today are, God said, if it seems that I am silent, know that I am working on your behalf. And until next week, I'm Lelia Lewis. Thanks for joining me.